Let's talk about Nepo babies. Okay, I know y'all been asking for the Dakota, what's her butt, Johnson for a while, but before I get to her, we gotta talk about Zoey. Zoey, why did you have to open your mouth? So Zoey did an interview recently, like complaining about the Nepo baby term and saying, oh, you know, my father's a cinematographer. No one was giving me jobs before him. So she denied that her father, who is a 6-time Oscar-nominated cinematographer, which if you don't know what that means, it's a big deal. That's like one of the big people. There's director, writer, the stars. Cinematographer is right up there as like super important job. Hard to break into that, and it's mostly men, by the way. 6 times he's been nominated for it. So that means he's like way up there. And her mom's an actress. Somehow they did not help her get into the industry. Basically, she said they never got her, that her dad's a cinematographer. How could he ever get her any jobs? Are you serious? Come on. Here's how you know someone's a Nepo baby. Google their name and then they come up. And if anyone in their family also has a Wikipedia page, that's a good indicator. Not only does her dad have a Wikipedia page, her mom has one, and her sister has one. They all have Wikipedia pages. So before I go on, I have nothing against her. I loved New Girl. I actually worked with her on a movie when I think I was doing craft services on that film. And y'all know, I've never talked crap about actors. I know how this industry goes. But I will say that she was so kind on set. She was so nice. She treated me like a human being. And when you're crafty, which is the person who like feeds everybody, it's different than catering. Crafty is like specifically for the stars and the crew, and catering is for like everybody. Her and Paul Dano, actually, the movie was gigantic. I just remember having a really lovely time on that set. I never felt like really disrespected or anything. But Paul Dano is honestly one of the coolest people I've ever worked with. He literally would come up and just talk to me, and it like, you're crafty. That's like him talking to a PA. You know what I mean? You're on the bottom. Nobody wants to talk to you when you're on the bottom. So he was very cool. Something else I did not realize until like years later. I worked with Zach. I mean, he was on this film set, but he played like, I think I didn't know who he was, and I was like hanging out in the room with him, and I actually was like, who is this creep? And he was like just chilling, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Anyway. It just kind of, I did not know, I didn't read the call sheets. I was just like didn't care who anybody was. And that sometimes was like not a good thing. Cause then like as a comedian, like what the hell? Anyway, sorry, Zach. I just wanted to say before, this is not like cancel that way. Okay. Like this is just, I think she seemed very awesome, very kind, very humble, you know? And so I was kind of surprised to see her say this. And I think everything she said kind of went against her original statement, like, I'm not a Nepo baby. I think so many people are afraid to call themselves Nepo babies. And I understand why they're offended by it. Like, first of all, every industry is Nepo babies. I mean, nepotism is in literally everything. And I'm going to talk about it even more in terms of like writing in a minute. It's not that we have a problem with nepotism, because we just accept that is, I mean, okay, I have a problem with it, but like, whatever. Nobody's criticizing them and their talent. It's when they refuse to admit that being born into the industry and having successful parents in the industry and being on set and having all this knowledge, this insider knowledge about the culture of film sets, the language they use, hanging out with people in Hollywood, all of that is priceless. Like, nobody's gonna start. They're already starting at like 150 when everyone else is starting like at 0 or even in the negative, especially the more marginalized you are, right? So like everything she said kind of went against her original statement. I'm going to get into Dakota in a minute because, wow, like her, I just don't like. I don't like the way she's so arrogant. But Zoey, I just think she was clumsy or just really not thoughtful in that dumb statement. This is what she said. And by the way, this is all the stuff her dad was in. Like he was nominated for 6 Academy Awards for his work in The Right Stuff, The Natural, Fly Away Home, The Patriot, The Passion of the Christ. Man, why did you work on that? And Never Look Away. She said, my mom is an actor and my dad is a cinematographer and a director. like, I don't know, as an actress, maybe having a father who's a director might have taught you some stuff. I can't possibly emphasize enough how much creative help I've had from my family unit. Yeah, because they're in the industry and they literally are teachers at home. Like, if you were, this is not a good comparison, but if you're like a doctor and your family's doctors and they're talking about doctoring it all the time, like, you're already going to know more going into medical school. Okay, that's a terrible comparison. This isn't even, y'all get the point. You would have, like, I had to spend years on set working as like a PA in like the most like demoralizing roles, getting paid like nothing, so I can learn just how they talk on set. What does it mean? We're going again. Blocking. First unit. Check the gate. Like all this stuff that, like, I don't know what that means. I didn't go to film school, and I certainly didn't have a daddy director and actress mommy. And I was definitely never invited on set as a kid. I mean, come on. There's no way she wasn't on set as a kid, just being like let's see where dad works. Then also, you know, you're hanging out with the people in the industry. So, like, these people are like, it's like a big family. It's just how, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way that didn't benefit you greatly in terms of, like, networking. And Hollywood is all about networking, like so many industries. So even though her dad is a DP, so therefore he is not a casting agent. He is not, like, talent manager or any of that stuff that, like, so what? You're in the family. She acknowledged she's received creative help, right? From professionals. It just makes you automatically have a community and how much our communities help us, whether it's our families or our found communities. Yeah, your whole community, your family and your community is probably creatives and people very well connected. Like, that's nepotism. I would have so many great discussions about film and filmmaking with my dad. They both would help me. My dad would also read lines with me and give directions. And then having a sister who's an actor. Yeah, like your dad's literally a director running lines with you. Most people have to pay to go to acting school, filmmaking school. Like, my dad is a creative mind and such a talented person. My mom is a great actor and is so nurturing. My mom would coach me when I didn't have an acting coach. She would help me, read lines with me. She'd be so supportive. No, most people don't have that. It's like, okay, like, your dad's super successful. Your sister is too. I just wish more people in Hollywood who grew up with parents in the business would just don't say anything. Because this tweet, why do none of these people understand that the second they share this opinion, everyone thinks less of them? I don't think less of her necessarily, because she literally just admitted all the help she gets. But it's their resistance to the word Nepo baby. Just say it. Just say it. It's okay. Because honestly, I had no idea. I think she's super talented. She's super cool on set, or she was to me. You know? I don't know. I don't ever want to say, oh, that person's amazing because they were nice to me. Yeah, well, that's what everyone says about grapists, too. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. That's just my one personal experience. But I think she's a great actress. And if she just wouldn't say this, y'all just stop making statements on nepotism. Because I had no idea. I never would have thought she was a Nepo baby if she hadn't just said that. You know? Because I remember this was from like a long time ago. And she was out saying crazy stuff while promoting that movie. And she said this whole thing about Nepo baby. And this guy was like, celebrities are so stupid. There's literally no faster way to get people to Google Dakota Johnson parents than to say this. So we're going to get into her parents in a minute. And wow! As a journalist and an entertainment journalist, her little statement on the Today Show not too long ago, being like, get a life. Stop talking about me being a Nepo baby. Or are you going to tell entertainment journalists to do not their job? You literally just gave them a job by being like, So this person said, grandmother is Tippi Hedren, Mama Melanie Griffith, Daddy Don Johnson, Dad Antonio Banderas, childhood best friends with Elvis's daughter. This woman, Dakota Johnson.
Nepo baby? Yeah. What do you think of that whole sitch?
When that first started, I found it to be like incredibly annoying and boring. Like, if you're a journalist, write about something else. That's just like lame. So the opportunity to make fun of it, I jumped at.
Of course you did.
Okay, first of all, there's a small part of me that feels really bad for this chick, and I'm gonna get into why in a minute, because she comes from an insane family. Her dad is like, I just want to contrast what she said versus Angelina Jolie. I don't have the interview. I have the summary of it, though, because I saw her interview a while ago. Some years ago, Angelina Jolie talked about how sad it is that she gets to reach her potential and get recognized for it, while many people who are just as talented or more will never will, because they live in dire circumstances. Angelina Jolie is really one of the only people that I've seen ever frame it like this, and I so agree. And, me being a white woman, able-bodied, middle class, cishet, born in the United States, like all kinds of privileges, right? That automatically makes it way more likely that I get to be an artist, like who has time for art, because we know that it's a privilege to just have spare time. That is like, so many people literally all they do is work, right? Or survive a genocide. And can't literally do nothing but work and try to survive. Those people do not have the privilege of being bored, the privilege of going to an improv comedy class. You know what I mean? So there's that. Like I already start at such a higher place because of my privileges, and yet. Like, I can't even tell you. Okay, I'm going to go into some stories in a minute. But some of y'all know, I used to be a guide for the kids in Hollywood. We all lived in our cars teaching the richest children and teenagers in America, United States, and in Hollywood. We also taught we did schools up in the Silicon Valley too. Literally took the people who created Google, their kids, right? So and it was so eye-opening. I'm like, I couldn't believe the conversations I would overhear. I couldn't believe how all of them were connected. Even if they weren't famous people's kids, their daddy was like the executive producer, or their entertainment lawyers, or something, right? Like, it is just one big network, right? And then you have the money and the access, and you have to go to the parties with all the people, I mean, even nepotism is like, James Gunn gets a lot of criticism for casting the same people in his film because they're related to him or they're his friends. And he's like, yeah, but I know them and I want to work with them and I know that we work together well. So call it nepotism or not, and I understand that take, I mean, I've been doing comedy since 2006, almost 20 years. And I absolutely would want to work with people that I've already been on stage with, that I have a relationship with. I understand that. And yet at the same time, that's still kind of nepotism, because you're not taking a chance on someone you don't know because they didn't have access to those circles, right? But I get so sad when I think about how many unbelievably smart and like brilliant people in the arts we will never know. We'll never know. And meanwhile, plenty of very talented people are successful who are also Nepo babies. And some people who are where did you come from? Why? Sam Levinson? Can we please get rid of that guy? I'm not saying he has no talent. Okay. The fact that man could just make as many crazy shows that are so... I've already done too many videos on him. Cannot stand that man. And he just has a blank check at HBO because his daddy, Barry, right? So when someone makes it who was not born into that industry, I'm always so happy for them. I'm so happy for them, right? But even if they aren't born into the industry and they just have money. When I was doing comedy, it was one of my friends who really, because I felt so much shame. I'm like, why are some of our friends just shooting to the moon? And some of them are have their own TV shows now. And she was like, okay, just so you know, one of the reasons why some people are accelerating faster is because you and I work like 12 to 16-hour days and then take improv classes and writing classes on the weekends. Those people are literally going to an open mic every night. And their classes are paid for at the UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade. That's where like most people in New York start. Or I don't know, it's kind of, that's cool, whatever. You know, Second City, all these ones, right? A lot of them are not paying rent, or their parents are helping them out and just having time, you know, even getting to move to New York City. Now, thank God, because of like TikTok and other apps, like it's democratized it a little bit because you can get discovered in like, without having to move to New York. But in general, if you want to be an actor, you have to be in New York or LA. Same thing with, I'm from Nashville. I hate country music, by the way. Although, I love that Beyonce is now doing country. I love that. Everybody moves to Nashville. They all want to make it in Nashville. They go to Nashville so they can be discovered. That's just what you have to do. And the only reason I was able to move to New York at all is because I worked for Outward Bound. And I was like, oh, they have an office in New York? I want to transfer. And I literally lived in a cubicle. I'm not saying this to get sympathy, I promise. I'm explaining. Even someone with this much privilege, I had no idea how to move to New York. The only way I was able to do it is because I worked for Outward Bound and they provided housing, which was an office building in Queens right next to the N train. One guy slept on the tent on the roof. I made this cubicle out of sheets and this plywood I'd found on the ground. My mattress went under the staircase, that staircase with that window above that goes out to the roof. We had to walk around by headlamps at 10 o'clock at night because there was like 5 cubicles in this room, 1 bathroom, a tiny kitchen. That plywood separates me and the other cubicle. I'm like reading a bedtime story to my buddy who was also an instructor, sleeping on a mattress on the floor in an office building. Hence why you had to have like earplugs and walk around by headlamp because, you know, people need to sleep even if you're awake. That's the inside of my little office cubicle. Okay, see, plywood. I put Christmas lights up just to try to make it, you know, homey. But can you tell I'm ADHD? I mean, look at this crap. A mess! And as you can see here, my feet go under the staircase. And that's like a twin bed on the floor mattress. That is how I got into comedy. I had a job that provided free housing by sharing a room with 5 people in a cubicle. You know what I mean? Like, I was very lucky. I don't know how I would have ever moved to New York because you have to have like first, last, and deposit rent. And now the housing crisis, like I could not have done that now because apparently it's just like 10 times worse than it was when I moved there. I was a backpacking guide in New York City. What? Like we backpacked on roofs and stuff, and then we take kids up to the Catskills and stuff. Anyway, so when someone like Dakota Johnson is like, shut up, like, it's so boring. Like, no, you shut up. And, you know, if she hadn't said really problematic stuff before, I'd be like, whatever, just, but, you know, it's... The 50 Shades of Grey star was addressing a recent question, this was a while back, from the Hollywood Reporter about embattled actors she'd worked with in the past, including Armie Hammer, Shia, oh God, you know that he just got cast? Ugh. He just got cast again! I knew it. He converted to Catholicism and now he's back. Is that Catholic? Whatever. He's on his like rebranding tour as like a good Christian boy so that people will forget about what he did to F.A. Twigs and all the women he terrorized. Like that guy will literally just never, he's like the Alec Baldwin. He's like younger Alec Baldwin. Just endless chances until one day he's going to get someone killed. Johnny Depp. So all 3 of these men have been accused of some major crap, like Armie Hammer eating somebody, or like whatever. I never experienced that firsthand from any of those people, she said. I had an incredible time working with them. I feel so sad for the loss of great artists. I feel so sad for the people needing help and perhaps not getting it in time. I feel sad for anyone who's been harmed or hurt. It's just all really sad. But because they never hurt me, I mean, I feel bad for them. It's a loss of artists. Stop it! But given that her dad hooked up with her mom when she was a teenager, it doesn't surprise me that she doesn't see problematic men as being problematic. I say this, if anybody who's ever experienced incest from a family member, your natural, like, not natural, your learned trauma response is to believe men who did unbelievably awful things to be good people, because you have to make that justification for some of the most important people in your life. And therefore you tend to do that. If dad couldn't have been that bad. He's a pedo, but he's my dad. So, you know what I mean? I get it. But it doesn't make it okay. Because if you didn't know, I mean, I have to do a whole nother video for a deep dive on this family. But just in case you're new to this, Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith moved in together when she was 15 and got engaged on her 18th birthday, tying the knot in 1976. Again, if you want to do that whole test, if you go to her Wikipedia, all of her relatives, all of them, have their own Wikipedia page. That is literally all you need to know right there. That's how you can tell if it's a Nepo baby. I mean, there's plenty of Nepo babies who don't have this, but this is like, boom, if they have a Wikipedia page, that's like the first level of the test. And that doesn't discredit them as actors. It's just like, hey, can you just admit that you had some help? Did you have any privilege whatsoever? It doesn't make you look bad. It actually makes you look good. It makes you look grateful for all the help. It's actually like, as someone tweeted, like so many of these people, they work so hard to make a name for themselves, and then they have children who then get into the industry and want to like distance themselves, and it's like, yo, your mom and dad like worked really hard to like make a name for themselves, and now you're gonna pretend like they were just like these little people in the industry. Come on, that seems disrespectful. And then Melanie Griffith herself comes from acting. This is her grandmother, and holy cow, I have to do a whole story on the way she was treated. Like Alfred Hitchcock, fork that dude. If you've never heard the story about how The Birds was made, oh boy, let me know if you want to, because that's a deep dive and it's going to take me time, but So I could go on and on and on this subject, because even just last night, in the journalism industry, it's the same. I didn't go to journalism school. I'm self-taught, like a lot of people I know. And even if you do have a journalism degree, you also have to be able to afford to make like the most ridiculously low salary in a city like New York. Nobody can afford to do that unless you come from a lot of money. And a lot of people in journalism take internships, right? And no real person who comes from like not a lot of money can do an internship, an unpaid internship, while living in New York City and paying that like cost of living and rent of New York City on no income. Who can do that? Nepo babies. Either Nepo babies in that industry or just rich people in general. Like every industry is nepotism. Every single one. It's just the ones in Hollywood get more crap for it because we know their parents. Nobody is saying that they're not successful. But I realized this last night because I'm a writing coach. I realized last night that I ghostwrote an article for a woman. I do ghostwriting too. I've done several of these jobs. And I like to write stuff for me. I like my name on the things that I write. But I realized that I made more money, and I deserved every penny of it because this was very hard work, writing someone else's story, getting to know them, finding the story, and then making the pitch, and then writing the whole story and everything. I made more money from writing an essay that got published in a major publication for one of my clients. I made more money from her because I have 20 years of experience than I have made on all my articles combined. I've got like 60 articles, y'all. Maybe not all of them combined, but at least 2/3 of them, if you add up what I made out of all of them, because you make the most ridiculous, like you make way below minimum wage as a writer, a freelance writer. And so somebody who doesn't write at all, but has money, has a story out there with their name on it that they didn't even write. This happens all the time. And my mutual, we were talking about this today, Therese, if you don't follow her, I'll tag her. She's amazing, and her and I gotta go live sometime soon. She was telling me Carrie Fisher did that. You know, Carrie Fisher, freaking Princess Leia had to ghost write and doctor scripts that other people got credit for. Because a lot of times, like actors and writers, they can't afford to make money off their own precious work, and rich people pay them to put their name on it. Even like, I'm so proud of the art of those things that I have ghost written for people, but I'll never get to say I wrote it. It's a secret. That's a secret, and it's so good. Do you know what I mean? So some of the people who are like writing amazing books aren't even writing the books. They got someone who doesn't have money writing the whole book to pay their rent. So anyway, this idea, just say it. Just say it. Just say, I'm a Nepo baby. I own it. You know what I mean? It's not that hard to say. I have white privilege. I have passport privilege. I have, I'm able-bodied. That's a privilege. Like, just like, come on. Come on. Dakota. Dakota. Nepotism helped me get my career. That's it. That's it. That's it. You don't have to say, I'm not talented. Anyway, I could talk about this for forever, y'all. In fact, there was an article in The Cut. I would love to go over, but it's pretty big. And it was written by a woman who's a stay-at-home wife. And she basically is like, yeah, the only reason I can write is because I have a rich husband. And was bragging. Everyone's like, oh my God. And that started a conversation about how a lot of writers literally can't break in unless they have a partner who makes most of the money because it doesn't pay well. You have to have, most artists have a second job. I was waiting tables up until 40. Anyway, I promise there are people far more talented than Dakota who will never get a shot. There's far more people more talented than me who will never get a byline in an article. There's so many talented people out there that anyway, okay, this is gonna be depressing. It's just like anything, just pretending like that privilege doesn't exist makes you look like an hoe. Just don't do it.